In this video, I'll tell you about what I think is the best pocket gun going, how it will potentially ruin your finances, why it's better than the Max 9, and a couple of things to keep an eye on with it because it's not perfect. Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel. I'm David, and this is the Smith Wesson Bodyguard 2.0. Now, this very much is a first shot style video. I have just south of about 200 rounds through the gun, a couple different hollow points, and about nearly 4 boxes of ammo. But this gun will be getting a spot in my safe because it is that good, and it's very rare that I crow about a gun like this, so take note.
Dude, this thing shoots really, really nicely. Like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. There's like no muzzle climb. I'm gonna have to try the spicier like double tap load and see what happens. That was super pleasant.
Let's start with what, in my opinion, makes this the best pocket gun going. But first, I do want to give the dads and the audience a crisp high five and challenge you with this. What's red and smells like blue paint? Red paint. So these little pocket guns don't really shoot well, generally speaking. My old pocket gun, and the one that I have in my safe currently, is the Ruger LCP, like the original LCP with the slightly better sights, not the ones with the like tiny ones, but you know, the next one, but not an LCP2. That thing kicks like a mule. It is one of the least enjoyable guns that I have to shoot. The LCP Max came along and basically doubled the capacity, but it's still, while it's more pleasant to shoot, it's not comfortable to hold. Like the back of the gun is very squarish, the front of the gun is very squarish, and it creates hot spots when you grip it that just isn't the most comfortable. This is where the Bodyguard 2.0 shines and will ruin your finances. First, because it's fun to shoot. It shoots almost like a 22, very close to a 22, and that's where it will financially ruin you because it is so fun to shoot, it's almost like a 22. 380 ACP costs all the money, so you'll be using a lot of money to keep the thing fed, and your wife or girlfriend will probably steal this from you and you'll have to go buy another one. That's how it's going to financially ruin you.
I'm never going to financially recover from this.
What makes it such a great shooter is, unlike the other, pocket 380s, it has a sculpted grip on the front and back strap. So when you grip the gun, it settles into your hand exactly where you would want it to, and it's very ergonomic. There is good traction on the front and back of the pistol so that you have good purchase and the gun doesn't move around a ton. There's even enough space to where your support hand can kind of get on the gun as well and assist in some recoil management. Couple that with a trigger that is actually quite good. It is a striker trigger. It's not the super miles long, double action revolver style trigger that's on the Rugers, but it's just a very short, very crisp, decent M&P style trigger, and it's very good. Come up top, and the slide serrations are very good as well. Super grippy, so you can manipulate it. The recoil spring is pretty light, so people with, not a lot of hand strength can probably manipulate this. And the sight picture, they have a blacked out rear with a night sight front on the sights up top. There's plenty of air gap in the sights, so it's a very shootable sight picture. Do have something negative to mention about the sights, but we'll get there to the negatives in good time. The size of the gun is on what I would consider the upper end of what is a pocket carryable gun. It is roughly the same size as the LCP Max. If you can fit an LCP Max in your pocket, you can probably fit the Bodyguard 2 in your pocket. It comes with 2 magazines. There is a 10 round and a 12 round version. I am opting for the 10 round because realistically you want to keep this thing's weight down, and it is a ½ ounce heavier than the LCP Max unloaded, plus that extra length in the magazine, while it's very nice to shoot with, does make it more challenging to keep in a pocket. So let's talk about it next to the LCP Max, which I have no doubt is what probably inspired the thing. The LCP Max just in every way feels cheaper than the Bodyguard 2. As I grip the guns like this, the harder I squeeze the LCP Max, the more it hurts the palm of my hand due to its square blocky grip, whereas the harder I squeeze the Bodyguard, it feels like it's not moving. It just feels planted in my hand. So what ends up happening when you take these out and shoot them, the hot spots that the grip points on the LCP Max creates ends up transmitting the force of recoil into your palm that way, which makes it a little less comfortable to shoot, whereas this spreads out the recoil beautifully in the palm and makes it very, very nice to shoot. The fit and finish on both guns, the Bodyguard 2 just feels all the way around nicer. The slide finish is a little bit nicer. The machining on the cuts is nicer. The sights, I prefer the sights on the Bodyguard, although that is a preference. The triggers, I prefer the trigger on the Bodyguard. There's just a little bit of take up compressing the trigger safety, and then it breaks, whereas you have a very long pull on the LCP Max, and then it finally breaks with a little bit more effort. And considering that the price points on these guns are pretty similar, like this feels like a gun that commands its price point, this feels overpriced, so there you go. Now, this gun is far from perfect. I ran into a couple of hiccups to the point where, like, I was thinking about it, and I've run into hiccups on most of the new Smith & Wesson products, so I'll be releasing a video talking about everything I've encountered and why I'm just kind of wondering what happened to Smith & Wesson. But this gun is brilliant, except for the following. And some of this stuff is, I'm gonna go from order of least importance to most important, and it's just stuff you should be aware of. First and foremost, if you look at that slide, it is itty bitty. The barrel, similarly, is very kind of thin-walled. What that means is if you're at a range session and putting, you know, I don't know, 150 to 200 rounds in a half hour or so through the gun, the slide's gonna heat up a lot to the point where it's very difficult to rack. That is a phenomenon for skinny slide guns. It's a phenomenon for all handguns to lesser degrees, but these little thin slide guns usually heat up faster, and this is no exception. Despite being very easy to manipulate the slide, getting the magazines loaded all the way to capacity is a challenge. If you are somebody with compromised hand strength, you're gonna need to use a magazine loader like an Lula in order to get those last 2 or 3 rounds in, because the magazine springs, at least when they're new, are pretty stiff. Then there is the manual safety. Much like the original M&P Shield, there is a little chiclet style safety at the back of the gun. They did a better job with this because they've covered it with very aggressive texture. So if you're somebody who wants to use a safety, it is usable, but I would say that it's probably just out of position for somebody with bigger hands to be able to use it reliably. It's there if you want it, but I think most people will probably end up ignoring it.
It feels like a 22. It's all left, and that's probably me.
And here's where I get into the kind of the issues that actually matter with the pistol. So this pistol I noticed was shooting left, and I thought, that seems strange. It's probably a skill issue, just like a lot of the people in the comments are getting ready to tell me. Yes, but I actually took calipers to it, and the front sight is 0.5 millimeter drifted to the right, which means that when you line up the sights, you're more likely to put them to the left, which is where the gun was hitting. That's a big deal on a gun with basically almost no sight radius. So the gun was shooting, I would say, 4 to 5 inches to the left, and it was not a me thing, it was the front sight not being centered in the channel. So I have a sight pusher, I'm going to fix that on the gun, and I will be off to the races. While it's not a big deal for somebody like me, the kind of person who would typically buy this gun and maybe doesn't shoot it a ton, doesn't practice with it, whatever, is gonna have issue hitting with it. Since it is a pure self-defense gun, I feel like more attention should be paid to how the sights are coming from the factory. We're building guns with robots these days, like everybody is. I have not been to the Smith factory, but I know that they're probably using the same robots everybody else is. There's not a good reason why we should have a front sight that is that far out of center on a gun in 2024.
So it wouldn't be a new Smith product without something weird. And you can kind of see the follower is getting on the mag catch right there as the follower tries to tilt and come down, preventing me from loading it, which is annoying.
An issue that I ran into with some of the other skinny guns from Smith is when I would go to load the magazines, I noticed huge resistance 2 to 3 rounds into loading the 12-round magazine, and what ended up happening was that the follower was tilting as I loaded the mag, and its leg would stick out at the mag catch and catch on the mag tube itself. Now, my fix for this is I took my Lula, I put it on the magazine, and I pounded it to shave the bottom leg of the follower.
All right, you see that there? I basically just used my mag loader to pound in the round to shave the follower so it stopped hitting the mag catch.
It's not stupid if it works. So that is a lot of negative stuff to be spewing about a gun that I ultimately am excited about and will be adopting as my new pocket carry gun as soon as I can find a suitable holster for it. The gun is awesome to shoot. It's very easy to hit with once you get the sights sorted out. It's got a lot of good things going for it. I have no doubt that this gun is going to dominate the pocket carry space, much like the M&P Shield did when it first rolled out in the Micro 9 segment. With this gun, you can pretty much have it all of a gun that actually is pleasant to shoot, has a pretty good capacity, has a good trigger, has good sights, comes straight from the factory, and it's about $400. I think MSRP is what I paid for this, and it was $400. So it is a great shooting gun. It's got a great trigger. It will ruin your ammo budget because 380 ACP is expensive. It's just a fantastic gun. Like, it is absolutely going to become my pocket carry gun as soon as I get the holster situation sorted out. We talk about shooting left in this video, and I've done this video here that you can watch on how to correct your grip so you stop shooting left. So you might want to check that one out as well.